Hey, Panther fans, it's your favorite Panther podcast, the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it with my best buds, Joe Riolano from the Low Country, and Mel Mayock in the Queen City. Joe, how you doing?
I am doing great, Tony. Thank you for asking. I am so happy to be amongst my friends and family. Shout out to the C3 fam out there. And I'm ready to talk some Panthers, man. Ready to talk.
Fantastic. Mel, good to see you. We're about to be coming and crashing your house soon.
I know, man. I'm like looking around the house trying to get rid of all the valuables and hide them and all that with the the C3 boys coming for the weekend.
That's right.
It's smart. We get wild.
Can't wait, guys. It's gonna be epic. Can't wait.
All right, lots to talk about tonight. Tonight's show, guys, is episode 17.33. Took the Olsen out of offense. The Carolina Panthers have they've started 2-0 for the 7th time in team history, and they did it after scoring no touchdowns. Won 9-3 against
Barn
the
burner,
Buffalo
man.
Bills. It was a tough, hard game to endure. It was hard fought in the trenches. There's some good things, some things that people want to see that need to get better. We're going to be breaking all that down tonight, plus more. We've got a guest from Canal Chronicles joining us at a half past the hour to help preview the Saints and see how bad things are down there after they get shellacked. We've moved to 2-0. They've moved to 0-2. We have the opportunity to have mirror records after this week. So we'll be getting the info from Bob Rose from Canal Chronicles on that later on. We encourage everybody that is watching the show right now to go ahead and smash that like button on YouTube, to share the show on social media with your friends. Tell Panther Nation that this is the podcast for Panther fans by Panther fans, where we all get together and discuss football together. You can consider also, if you're listening later, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as you can help sustain the podcast by consider donating through the Patreon account. That information can be found in the show notes on YouTube or on our website under podcasts, as well as, you can buy a cool shirt, put it in the bank, shirt, a cam wow, all those small things. The pennies add up, the dollars turn into a couple of dollars, and that's all we really need to keep this thing going and keep it. Like, we just got to have a financial life support so we don't get divorces for spending all the money out of our pocket on this after we spend like 30 hours a week. My wife still gets mad at me with how much time I talk Panthers and write and stay up. I have to stay up into the middle of the night sometimes to avoid her ire.
Welcome to marriage, brother.
That's right. She's great. She's very supportive, but at the same time, we've got responsibilities, right? All right, let's jump right into this. Look, everybody already in the YouTube chat, thank you for joining the show. Also, remember, actually, I did forget this. The best way you can help support the show, I think, other than just telling somebody about it, sharing it on Facebook, sharing it on wherever you hang out on social media, email, whatever it is to call the Cat Calls line. We want to hear your perspective of the games past and the games going in, or any other topics surrounding the Carolina Panthers. So you can call and leave a voicemail anytime using the number 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. We look forward to hearing from you. We got some good cat calls at the end of the show coming at you. I think you'll like it. And a live report from Mario and the Quay from the game. So it's going to be not live anymore.
That was pretty awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get in. Defense dominates. First time since 1981 that a team has allowed 3 or less points in its first 2 games of the season. I think we look better this week against than we did against the San Francisco 49ers. And I want to give some credit to Tyrod Taylor running around for his life out there. Without him, they would have had negative yards on the day. The Panthers held the Bills to 176 total yards, like something like 50 yards rushing and held Shady McCoy to 9 yards. Guys, you saw that defense. How exciting was it to watch it? And what really made, how are they so good?
You want that one, Joe?
No, take it, man. Go ahead.
I tell you, it was phenomenal to watch. I mean, Julius Peppers getting in the act, picking up a couple sacks, and they were playing just total discipline offense. I mean, last week, Shady McCoy had 200 yards rushing against the Jets. Say what you want about the Jets, but they got a pretty monster defensive line. And he got 200 yards against them and got 9 against us. It was amazing. And up until that last drive, it was total discipline defense. It was play.
I definitely agree with that. Both lines played exceptionally well, and both offensive lines were completely dominated. I know we'll get into that later, but this defensive line we have is as good as any there's ever been in Carolina, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
Julius Peppers had 2 sacks in this game, right? He had a half sack in the game against San Francisco.
Right.
Could have been a strip sack in that game. What you got is a player who is 37, 37 years old. And looks like he's got like 3 or 4 years left in the tank. Not only is he out there performing, he seems to be performing at such a high level. It's really exciting to see. That this dude right here loves it. I'm wearing my Peppers jersey to the game, even though it's in tatters, I think.
You should, man.
I mean, it is old, bro. That thing's from 2001.
Yeah, you remember he was drafted the same year as Steve Smith.
Yeah, it's great. And so he's been amazing. He really has a real feel for the game, a savvy for the game. I think that defensive line, look, we've talked about this, when our linebackers can run free, we have a really nasty opportunity. I think, though, that the defensive tackles are playing well. I thought Mario Addison played better in this game than he did in the first game against the 49ers. Not that he played poorly. What's that?
Star Latulele, he's an unsung hero up there.
Oh, in a big way.
And he had less snaps in this game. He went down. I think
Vernon Butler came in. Because Vernon Butler came back. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we saw Vernon Butler injected into the game. They said Starr, I think, was, his shoulder. He's over there getting a shoulder checked out a couple of times, but there's pressure up the middle. You got a good rotation with Vernon Butler. I think Mario Addison is playing better against the run, evidenced in the fact that they couldn't run the ball at all. And, man, when you get Peppers out there and then you get the 2 starting tackles out there and Mario, it's a lot of athleticism on that front line.
Are you a little surprised there's no sacks by K'Wan Short yet?
I am.
I mean,
Joe, how is that even possible?
It's surprising, but if you think about it, everyone knows how good he is.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're focusing a lot of attention on him.
And he was so dominant in the preseason, which is when they don't scheme. So now that does tell you, you're right. They're scheming, double, triple blocking him, putting chips on him, things like that. Yeah.
Right. But by doing that, that allows the rest of the defensive line to, one-on-one all over the place. And that's a mistake, frankly.
I think he's been disruptive, though. That's what surprises me, is that he hasn't gotten to the quarterback, because I see him around the quarterback all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's going to change, and he's going to have one of those games where, he has 3 sacks or something like that. I mean, he's too good. Hopefully it'll be this week.
Truthfully, guys, as well as our defense has played, which is really, really good, we've only got the 1 turnover.
That's the one thing that has concerned me is, in 2015, we were plus 20 on the takeaway ratio.
Right.
Last year, we were -2. Right now, we're dead even. And if we're going to get to where we want to be, we've got to be well into that positive territory. Really do.
We just haven't gotten any picks,
Right.
But I do think there is a couple of stats, though, that I think that, I do think that that's interesting. But one of the things is the Panthers, I think they are, teams are something to the effect of, 7 for 28 on third down against them.
Yeah.
The Bills were 3 for 13 on third down or something to that effect, and teams are 1 for 5 or 1 for 6 on fourth down.
That's right.
At this time. So I think that what that does is that shows too is that this team, one of the good things is they're getting off the field.
Yeah, the time of possession. Time of possession ratio is 36 minutes to 23 minutes.
Yeah, so you're having a lot of good luck there. I do want to play this clip. Here's Coach Wilkes on Julius Peppers and how good of a player he's been.
It's great, and just to have Julius as a whole is extremely important to this organization, this team, and this defense. You look at what happened last week. And this is a great thing about, again, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame. This is a great thing about a player of his caliber. You know, he didn't have a great game last week. It was good from a standpoint of what a lot of you guys may have seen, but a lot of things with his technique, because he's still doing some of the things he did a little bit last 3 years at Green Bay. Eric did a hell of a job in tightening those things up this week, and you could see the difference in his performance and his play. And a guy like that who still take coaching and teaching, a guy of that caliber, man, just shows you exactly about his character and the kind of people that we have in that room. So,
if you haven't heard Coach Wilkes speak, it's a great thing. I hope we get to hear a lot more of it. If this defense keeps playing as well as they do, I think he will be front and center a lot and being celebrated by this team. But he goes on to talk about really when he said that Peppers didn't have a good game in that first game all that much. It was technique stuff related to him transitioning from being used to playing as a stand-up linebacker in a 3-4, going back to playing a 5 or what he called a 6 technique pass rusher. Some small things though, but I thought that was interesting that that the idea that a first ballot Hall of Famer who's got 2.5 sacks, who looks like every time you see him, he's making plays, is being coached up even more.
Yeah, this goes to speak of Pepper's greatness as a player. You know, even though he's a 15-year vet and, you know, has been in every kind of defense you can imagine, he's still willing to listen to the coach and adjust the game and continue to work on his technique and strive to get better. And, you know, I'll say this. When Peppers left, I was happy because, you know how I felt about him. But since he's been back, he's really shown me he's a different person. And, you know, that maturity has set in, and the professionalism is there. So I'm definitely glad he is back.
I want to give some shout outs to people in the YouTube chat. There's a lot of great conversation going on. Legacy Lines Lynn, California, joining the show. Jay Cryer from across the pond in England joining the show. Cody, MS6 fanboy, Slim, Kevin Ketchy, Mario is here.
Amazing.
Christina. There's just the Junkie for Fame. Thank you guys so much for taking your time, for contributing the conversation. We will continue to get your comments in throughout the show. Guys, I do want to say this, is that with all that great defensive play, right? Fantastic. You hold the team. Then you give the ball, what was it, with like a minute left? We give it to them on the 25, I guess, and then they march 50 yards down the field. And on a 4th and 11 play, almost ruined the whole dang day, and one of the best dang performances. And I've never actually I wasn't sad. I mean, I was very happy that the dude dropped it, but I was like, you know, I mean, it was Zay Jones that dropped that pass, and what an effort. I'm going to tell you this, is that pass was a pretty decent pass. Zay Jones went after that sucker, and man, if you look at that in slow motion, this shows you how fantastic of an athlete these guys are. He watched that whole ball from the time it touched his fingertips to the time it touched the ground, and he followed it. The concentration there it was inches. We were inches away from all of that greatness being spoiled in a final drive that was 50 yards. And here's what Coach Wilks had to say on that final play.
Situational football we talk about all the time. The third element of our DNA is playing smart. Last play of the game. All right, fourth down, understanding the time on the clock. Most important, the formation, all that stuff is talking to us. We got to do a much better job with our left corner, Bradbury right here, staying vertical and really getting a double on that 7 route with the safety playing inside out. You know, that last play, again, it was an empty formation. We're playing quarters. And James, in my opinion, got a little nosy. You know, he allowed the number 1 receiver to occupy him. He drove on the comeback, which we don't do that in that situation. Thomas should have pushed through, which he was. James should have stayed deep with Kurt Coleman right here, Bison, that 7 route from inside out. James should have been outside in and really should have been an interception based off where they threw the ball. So it's something to learn from and something that we will definitely correct moving forward. Letting him understand, once again, the situation and trying to detail it for him, as you just talked about. So therefore, once we get in that situation again, it won't happen. The challenge.
That's Coach Wilks explaining what happens with that play right there. And really what it was is it shows that there's still some, you know, that's our top guy, James Bradbury, but it shows that there's still some inexperience there. And that these guys are going to have to continue to get better. You know, sometimes football is about lucky breaks, and we got a lucky break. We got a couple of lucky breaks in that game. There was a couple.
Professor, that was something I wanted to point out. Last year, we did not get any lucky breaks. The ball didn't bounce our way. We didn't get the fumbles. When a bad thing could happen, it did. Maybe the tide's turned a little bit. Maybe we're starting to get some of those breaks. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, but that was a good start.
Well, we've had 2 weeks. The luck can only continue for so long. Look, is that we had 2 weeks where luck or good fortune helped us. You had the guy, what's his name, Marquise Goodwin, who dropped one pass right through his hands, another misfire in the end zone. So our defense has gotten away with some things. Cam Newton got away with an interception or two. And they haven't been necessarily bad passes, but yeah, is that actually good defensive plays? Not the best reads at the time. So we got away with those in that game. And at the same time, too, that we've had some of this luck, we've had some things that haven't gone well for us. You know, Cam has been off and he missed. There's really, you know, I am like the king of Cam defenders. I'm the king excuse maker for Cam Newton. It's hard to that one that he misses to Christian McCaffrey right in the end zone.
That last play wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, the last play would not have mattered had he made that touchdown pass, that toss.
Yeah, you got to put that in the bag. One of the things, though, that is interesting to me is how well Coach Wilks seems as a teacher. While he's giving that press conference at the same time, James Bradbury is on the phone with WFNZ Primetime talking about that play, and I got a different read from Bradbury. So I hope that Wilks does not hear this before he gets a chance to school him.
We was in quarters. We pretty much played quarters, like every play throughout that drive. And they opened up an empty. They was in an empty formation, just quarterback in the backfield. And they pretty much ran a quarters beater. Coach McDermott, he knows our defense pretty well, so he kind of knew what play we was going to be in. They pretty much ran a quarters beater. They had two receivers to my side. The number 1 receiver, he ran a curl route right in front of the sticks, which was right about 11 to 12 yards. And number 2 ran a 7 route. So what happened was I jumped the curl route that was in front of me because he was in my quarter, half of the field. And they had a 7 that ran behind me. They threw the ball deep to 7. Fortunately, he dropped the ball, and I was in it again.
Now, Bradbury, tell me if I have this wrong, because I've been on his defense for a few years. But in quarters coverage, as a corner, you're supposed to read number 2, right?
Normally, my first read is number 1, because we don't, like, if 2 comes to the flat, we don't read that. We have an AM2 player on the inside that reads that number 2 got to the flat, unless he goes a certain amount of yards down the field. Like, say he goes 5 or 10 yards down the field.
Right.
The AM2 player doesn't carry him anymore. So, like, I'm reading number one. I'm basically my threat is based off number one.
Okay.
If one comes past more than 5 yards down the field, then I pick up number one as my man.
All right, just curious. All right.
So it sounds like Coach Wilkes is going to have some talking about what getting nosy is, right? Mm-hmm. And look, Bradbury's a second-year player. A lot of pressure has been put on him. This was the same day that press conference had gone on. So they haven't probably gotten in the meeting rooms yet about these types of things. So, there's an opportunity for him to learn from this. But like Wilkes said, they're going to have to learn and go forward. We got about 10 more minutes or so before our guest comes. We got to talk about the offense. While the defense was dominating and almost blew it, though, on this final drive, this offensive line performance against the Bills was not good. We allowed 6 sacks after keeping Cam Newton clean the week before. Matt Khalil had 6 hurries or /sacks alone at the left tackle. On the right tackle, Darrell Williams struggled. It did not look that much better on there. He looked slow-footed. He looked tired, if anything, getting out of his stance. And Matt Khalil, Ron Rivera said that he is still getting used to Cam Newton. I don't know what that really means, is that he needs to get used to blocking. And he needs to get used to speed rushes and dudes putting spin moves on my man.
Does he need to ISO? Does he need to ISO?
No, guys, where is this offense at? Right, is that the offensive line was not good. Cam Newton's play was much better in the first half of this game. He sustained some important drives. He ran the ball at times when necessary. I saw him slide.
Brought back the dad.
Yeah, exactly. He did slide.
It was like the best slide I've ever seen him slide after after a scramble for a first down. So there were some good things, but then there was some real ineptitude, inability to run the ball, inability to get in the red zone. Guys, where are you at on the offensive line? Because everybody wants to talk about how Mike Shula is terrible in the chat room.
Well, with the offensive line, they were just getting beat. Now, we know Khalil was a late scratch. I mean, late scratch.
He was out there in warm-ups.
Yeah.
He woke up. He woke up with a crink in his neck.
Yeah.
Give that guy a cortisone shot.
Many things about that, but I'm not even going to. Yes, he woke up with some neck problem, and it kept him from being able to play. So, we throw in number 2, who's been preparing like a number 2 all week.
Right.
And, I'm sure there were communication issues. I'm sure there was some unrecognized defenses and just all, and it was evident in the way we performed. The offensive tackles were getting beat time after time after time. Williams looked awful. Like he had no reason to be in the NFL. He looked that bad to me.
Which is surprising. I agree with you, Joe. But I mean that he has not been bad up to this point, at least in my eyes. I mean, he's been a pretty good tackle. This game he was bad.
Yeah, and that could be, that says a lot about the Bills front four, I think. At the same time,
could it be something that McDermott has seen in practice over the years and just really exploited?
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I would say so. But what I felt was like, hey, Williams has had a poor game at the end of the first half. Let's go in Moton and see what he can do. Just throw him in. You don't have to play him the whole second half. Throw him in there against some really good guys and let's see how he holds up. He's not going to.
I don't think this was scheme, guys. I don't think this was scheme, and the reason why is that our edge rushers were just getting beat. I mean, our tackles were just getting beat 1-on-1.
Well, there was at least one sack, and I have not, because I was at the game. I didn't watch replays, and I haven't gone back and watched the game. But I remember specific one sack where it came off of Khalil's side, but it was a linebacker that looped around on a delayed blitz that had nothing to do with Khalil, even though it came from his side.
Right. There's a couple of times, look, is that Khalil's had trouble with the shorter guys that go fast.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, too, is that if you watch Darrell Williams, a lot of times he got his hands on these dudes early. But it looked like, and I'm not a guru on technique. It looked like he wasn't he was extended a little bit, like his feet, his shoulders weren't over his feet.
Right.
So like he was kind of leaning forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got he got good hands on these dudes, and then he would give them a push, but it wouldn't knock them off balance enough, and he would be off balance afterwards. And it was actually that second effort that was really beating Darrell Williams, it appeared to me, because he was leaning forward and off balance. So some of that, I think, is going to be sitting in his stance a little bit more. Khalil, he almost wanted to be a little stronger. Like, I don't feel like when he's giving these guys a push and he's like hoping that that's just going to push them off their trajectory. I want to see him push these dudes and then fall down.
Yeah, he didn't seem strong enough to me. That's what it seemed like. He didn't get enough movement on the defender.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And then they're setting it up, and then they spin move the dude, and it's over. I mean, the spin move is not supposed to work on NFL tackles, and it does on Khalil. Let's go to the real question in the chat room going to this. Is Cody Lackney asked it to set it up, and a lot of people have been hitting on this. Is Cam Newton holding on to the ball too long? Or is this play calling by Shula? I think Cody also said, you look at Kansas City and you see what their offense is doing, and you go, we've got those parts and pieces. Why isn't our offense putting it together like that? I don't think this is Cam holding on to the ball too long. Sorry, Cam defender here. Everybody says dump the ball off. What I saw is that sometimes you've got to have somebody to go to, and you can't, if pressure is coming from one side and your dump off routes are that way and you've got to turn to your right instead of your left, it's kind of hard to dump the ball off in those cases. I'd like for us to go and really look and see if there are real easy routes, or if he is. Matt, maybe he does hold on to it a little bit. But some of this was just coming straight after him. Right now, though, Joe, where is this evolved offense?
Well, one thing about Cam that I noticed was there were times in the game where he didn't feel comfortable in the pocket. Like he was panicking, didn't have that confidence. I saw one play in particular where it was down inside the red zone. He should have stepped up. If he would have stepped up into the pocket, he could have hit CMC. He did a little smart route where he came out of the backfield, ran like he was going to the middle of the field, and then stopped and ran to the sideline, and he was wide open. But Cam, instead of stepping up, stepped to the right and started running and tried to throw a pass on the run, where his feet weren't under him, his hips were all twisted the wrong way, and he completely missed the throw. But some of this is Cam, but I think some of it is offense, and some of it's Shula. The offense is not evolving the way we expected. We expected to see quick routes. I expected to see many more screens and quick slants. We saw some slants with KB. Funchess had a good game for the first time. I say a good game, but he got 4 receptions, so he was there. There were some quick routes, but also we saw some routes that took a while to develop, or Cam may have been holding the ball too long, hoping for them to develop.
So here's some good comments in the chat room. Is that Slim J says Cam is holding on to the ball because the plays that are called take too take time to develop. On the other hand, I saw one comment, and it was from, where did it go? They're going. So Keith Warlick said this: Cam audibles into a fair amount of these long developing plays, not all on Shula. So look, is that there does have to be some mixed responsibility as Cam has been off. You know, you put a couple of these passes on the money and this game changes. I do think this is that it's kind of a symphony of errors when it comes to play calling, offensive line play, and then Cam Newton not doing it well. You know, you march all the way down, you march down the field, you get some good things. I saw one time we had 3 pressures on Cam in a row. You know, where
that's when the game
this.
changed. That's when the game changed right there.
Yeah, 3 consecutive pressures to where, you know, it doesn't matter what's going on right there, is you got beat 3 consecutive plays. Like, that's a whole series gone. But we can say this is that right now we haven't seen that much of a difference in the way Mike Shula has called the offense.
Something,
we'll put this out.
Something I think we need to see more of, which we're not, we're getting so predictable, is throwing the ball on first down. Everybody, when they play us, expects a run on first down over 50% of the time. I think we need to start throwing the ball, whether it be a screen, a quick hitting slant, or even tossing it to the receiver out of the backfield. Yeah. We need to upset what these teams are expecting from us.
I agree, Tony or Joe, and I got excited because the first play of the game started out in the shotgun. And I was thinking exactly what you were thinking there. I was like, oh man, they mix it up, but then he turned and handed it off to Stewart.
Right, and that's too predictable.
But as far as Shula goes, I think execution by players makes a play caller look worse. You know, I mean, if we're executing better, these criticisms go away. They really do. Now, one point I really did have a point of contention with him is we've got a 6'6", 250-pound quarterback that is the franchise face, and he is the badass. When you've got 1st and goal from the 1, they can't stop him. Why they didn't try running Cam one time on those 3 consecutive downs, I don't get that. You got that play. That's what he is best at. That's a touchdown, game over.
I think
I do want to point this out. If I see that damn Wildcat again, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah,
it needs to be. Look, is that Google's talking about it, and they said, "Here's what I found: no Wildcat." On top of that, look, there is I agree. I think Mel's right. I think the critics are right, and I think Keith Warlick is also right. He says Cam Newton is a 3-point shooter. You live and die by it. It's kind of how the reason the play calling is the way it is. Shula, though, has always had this type of offense. So it's like they fit each other pretty well in that case. He tends to run these types of things. But what we haven't seen is Shula has had more dynamic play calling in the past, particularly in 2015. We've seen fake jet sweeps. We've seen some different things, but we haven't really seen them go after it. Here's my example, is that even if he's a 3-point shooter, why are you running the 3-point plays to Kelvin Benjamin and Funchess alone? Why don't we get a burner out there, Curtis Samuel and or Damiere Byrd to run the 9 route? Why don't we try some different things, getting Curtis Samuel or Damiere Byrd in space, jet sweep option, some different things just occasionally, instead of putting Curtis Samuel out there for one play and running down bubble screen, which everybody knows that's like the easiest way to use him.
And that was a terrible attempt at a bubble screen, too. It was a bad throw. The timing was off. The defense was right there to greet him. Mm-hmm. It was a terrible attempt at a bubble screen.
Well, you know, and this may not be a popular thing to say, but I think we had Jordan Rodriguez on this show about a month ago, and she said, guys, this defense is going to carry this offense for the first part of the season. The offense is behind. They're learning. It's a work in progress. It's not going to look great at the beginning. Here we are 2 weeks in. It's exactly as she said. To me, if they're still doing this a few weeks from now, then we got real pause for concern. But I'm really not surprised that we are where we are right now. I'm just not.
I'm going to say this once before our guest shows up. This week is the Panthers' opportunity to really show something offensively.
Yeah.
Because this Saints defense is bad. And they traded away one of their best players tonight. So that is, we've got to show it. A lot of people are looking at this game like, okay, are the Panthers for real? If we don't score 30 points in this game, I think people are going to think we're not a legit
This team has given up 46 points in the first half. The Saints have, whereas the Panthers have given up 0 in the first half.
I do want to caution people, and we're going to get Bob Rose's opinion on this, that I don't think that this Saints game is going to be as easy as people want to expect it to be.
It's going to be a high-scoring game.
We're going to need the Carolina Panthers offense to get in the end zone. We're going to need touchdowns. We're not going to be able to settle for field goals. We can expect our defense to play well, I think. But another thing, guys, is that we'll come back to this maybe. We're not running the ball all that well. If you look at this, is that, look, Christian McCaffrey had 8 carries for 10 yards in this game. He was a non-factor in this. And I think, and this is some of the things I told you I think was going to happen, is people play faster in the NFL. He can't just go out there and just expect to hit home runs on every play. So you're going to have to continue to massage him into the game and do some things. But this isn't going to work if we can't run the ball and get positive yardage on just regular run plays.
But hey, I will say he outrushed LaShawn McCoy by a single yard.
He did. All right, now we're going to welcome in our guest to help us preview the Saints game and talk about what's going on with one of our mortal enemies. We welcome Bob Rose from Canal Street Chronicles to help us out. Bob, welcome to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you. And like you said, it's a hated but respected rival.
Yeah, at least you're not a Falcon fan, right?
Exactly.
Is that we can all agree that they're the worst on earth. All right. I've been listening I've been kind of just watching like a voyeur Saints fans, right? Because I don't want to, when people are going through some mess, like I'm ready for the Panthers to beat them. I don't need to talk any junk to my buddies when they're going through this. But from what I can see as I'm peeping through the window on Twitter, on some podcasts, you guys are depressed. How bad is it right now, Bob?
Guys, it's pretty bad. The fan base, as most NFL fan bases will do, when their team loses, especially in an unexpectedly bad fashion, everybody's ready to take a bridge. Fire this coach, trade that guy, cut that guy. Just like when they win a game that maybe they weren't expected to win, it's just the opposite. These guys are going to the Super Bowl, they're unstoppable, playoff bound, etc. The Saints fan base just needs to level themselves out a little bit. The team needs to start playing better. I mean, these were 2 absolutely ugly losses. The NFL schedule makers did not do this team any favors, opening them up on the road against a very tough Minnesota defense. Them bringing in the defending Super Bowl champions for their home opener, and then the next game on the road against a bitter divisional rival before they send them overseas to London. These guys, in my opinion, it's not time to panic, but it's time to start edging towards that panic button. Nobody's getting fired, but this defense continues to be bad for baffling reasons. I mean, they've retold it now 3 times in the last 3 years, and we're seeing people like Tom Brady, Hall of Famer Tom Brady, is setting career highs in a game against the Saints. With his long and legendary career, he's still setting career highs. That's inexcusable, especially in your home stadium. So, time to panic? No. getting there real close. This game is huge. I think it's probably bigger for the New Orleans team than it is for the Carolina team, in my opinion.
So I listened to a lot of similar takes coming there, right? Defense, young, were abused by Belichick. I am mad that I wussed out and didn't put money on this game. I wussed out because I lost a bet the night before, and I was like, I'm not going to be a degenerate and try to make up for a loss than last night just because. But, man, 8 days to prepare for a team that has no offensive line and no defensive pass rush. You got to think Belichick and them are going to make easy work of it. But they came in there with 3 receivers only. Like, that's it. They didn't even have – they did this with a tight end and 3 running backs. But I heard everybody talk about how bad it was, and I went and watched the game today. And it's crazy watching games on Game Pass with that condensed format is that you really, gosh, if the games were like this in real life, we would all need a Xanax. Because they happen so fast but I was like, man, this first half, like, yeah, y'all are getting beat up a little bit, but y'all are still in it.
Right.
Making a couple, I was like, hey, you're close to getting to Tom Brady. A couple of times there's some things that I thought, and then as you got into the fourth quarter, it was just a bludgeoning of running and where they were just doing whatever they wanted. I don't know if you guys were getting tired to that point. So I got to ask you this. What is worse, the fourth quarter bludgeoning or Ted Ginn Jr.?
Ted Ginn Jr.
He sucks. He sucks. I've been telling everybody this.
Ted Ginn Jr. I was throwing stuff around my house when they signed him. I have hated Ted Ginn Jr. since he came into the league. I have always thought he was absolutely overrated, and he made 2 plays a year, it seemed like, and unfortunately for Saints fans and the fan base, it always happened in Carolina versus Saints games.
The GM just only watched those games.
Right, exactly. And at the very least, you guys could count on him to run a 9 route and at least threaten to take the top off of a defense. It might be 50-50 whether he catches the darn ball, but you at least had to respect that. We're not even seeing this out of him in New Orleans these first 2 games. He's running incorrect pass patterns. It's like it's his rookie year, and I want him gone. I know that.
He hasn't worked anywhere but Carolina, and his tenure in Carolina has mixed reviews. Some people just love it because he's the only thing we had. This guy right here, it gets so infuriated by him being terrible half the time. What is up, guys? And please jump in there if you got questions for Bob. And Bob, you can ask any questions you got. I want to know the one thing that stood out to me about that game. What the hell was up with that challenge? Like, why do you challenge the ball when it looks like they got a touchdown? It looked pretty damn clear. And then second, there was a penalty. Did they lose a timeout for that because there was a penalty on it and then they still didn't get the touchdown, like in a good way?
I don't think they lost. I don't think they lost a challenge over it. I think it really, and Coach Payton has a propensity, for doing this kind of thing. Parcells did it too a lot. He needed to take a timeout for whatever reason to give his guys, I think, a breather, a blow. I don't necessarily believe that he questioned whether it was a touchdown or not. But if you're going to lose a timeout anyway, or if you're going to burn out a timeout anyway, at least make the referees take a look at the play, if even you have the shred of doubt in your mind. So from that strategic aspect, I don't necessarily blame him. The problem, of course, is if you lose the challenge, then you lose an opportunity to challenge a play that might be in deeper question, that could perhaps decide the fate of a ball game later on in the game. So yeah, it was a head scratcher. But I think if I were to climb inside Coach Payton's head, I think that would be the reasoning behind it.
Well, hey, one question I got for you is what's going on with the trade tonight with Stephon? Is it Stephon Anthony, the 2015 first-round pick, just sent over to Miami for a fifth-round pick in exchange? What do you think about that trade?
And a lot of people, yeah, a bunch of us on the Canal Street Chronicles and a couple of the other Saint sites, we had to hurry up and blast out articles as soon as we saw the breaking news. And this fan base is right now, of course, the replies were, they're getting rid of all their star players and all this and all that. Thing was, Stephon Anthony was not going to be a factor in this team's plans this year. You're right. He's a 2015 first-round draft choice. I like the guy myself because he's an athletic phenom. The problem is he didn't understand what the offenses were bringing at him. You guys saw him a couple times in Carolina games when he was freed up to freelance. He can make some plays. But from the linebacker position, the way this game is set up now, you need to read what the opposing offense is going to do. Your defensive game plan, you need to understand that going in, and not only your role, but as a linebacker, the roles of the players in front of you, the linebackers on either side of you if you're playing in the middle. And he wasn't picking up that at all, and paralysis by analysis, for lack of a better term. And he was not only not progressing, I think he was regressing. The team, I don't believe, had any plan. There was a lot of rumors that they were trying to trade him all preseason long. And then they came out with the fact that he had a high ankle sprain. Basically, he didn't play at all the last two preseason games. But instead of cutting him, I think they held on to him to see what they could get for him. Mm-hmm. And they went getting a fifth-round pick for him. Remember, this is a guy that they traded.
I thought it was like the third.
It was a fifth.
Fifth round.
Ouch! You guys got reamed.
I think that the mindset was that this is the best we're going to get for this kid right now. The book's out on him that he can't read offenses, that he can't grasp a defensive game plan. Now, you guys know the ego of every NFL, every sports coach really, but especially NFL head coaches. There was going to be a coach out there saying, "This kid's a heck of an athlete. I can make something out of him." And the Saints just needed to get as much as they could for him. And I think at the end of the day, they figured, Miami just suspended Lawrence Timmons, so they were a little bit thin at linebacker. So I think the deal came down fairly quick.
They just bought Timmons, like they've suspended him indefinitely for. I guess he had a mental breakdown. Maybe there could be mental health issues. There could be drug issues. I mean, like something that when somebody just kind of disappears in the middle of like everything. There's something weird going down.
But now, like, Anthony didn't even play in the first two games, though, right? I mean, he was inactive for you guys?
Right? Yeah, no, he wasn't even given a helmet. He was inactive both games.
Right. He's been injury prone throughout his short career, hasn't he?
He's been nicked up. He had a little bit of a hamstring issue in his rookie year. He didn't miss any games, but it affected him a little bit.
Did he go to Clemson?
He did.
He went to Clemson, right?
Yeah, he went to Clemson.
Yeah.
And the Saints drafted him with the 31st overall pick in 2015. That was the first round pick that they got from Seattle when they traded him Jimmy Graham. Now, Anthony had a scary looking knee injury early in the preseason last preseason. And as I was watching the game last year, I want to say it was against the Texans, but like I said, it was like the second preseason game. I was watching the game, and I leaned back, and I said, oh, my God, he's out for the year. Now, he ended up missing most of the rest of preseason, and the Saints said all last season that the knee injury and the leg injury wasn't an issue, yet he only played very sparingly in 10 games, only started 3 of them, and looked completely lost during that whole time. So, I mean, injury prone, maybe a little bit. I mean, he gets nicked up a lot. I don't think that was a factor in them deciding to move on from him. I really think that it was just they didn't think that he was going to progress anymore in this defense. Mm-hmm. And guys, as bad as this defense has played, that tells you what they really thought of him.
Wow.
All right, we got speaking of injuries, one of the questions Shaquette asked in the chat room is what injuries are playing a factor for the Saints. Look, Greg Olsen, somebody that's critical to this team, and we really don't have much behind him, broke a foot out of nowhere, non-contact, just walking, running, broke his foot on the field. He's been put on IR today. He's going to basically miss the next 8 weeks at the minimum because of IR. Questionable if he'll return for the season, in my opinion. But we had that. What else went down for us? You had a scare with Cam Newton, Ryan Khalil. These things are affecting us going into this game. What is going on with the Saints? We know historically you guys had, or not historically, but over this offseason, you lost, what's his name from Detroit, former Fairley, for the heart condition. People worry about that, and that's a huge deal. You saw the need for him in this game. You guys lost some pieces. Where are you guys at with injuries?
Injuries at Marshawn Lattimore, their number 1 draft choice at cornerback. He was put in concussion protocol during the Patriots game. Really, the only member of the secondary that's playing halfway decent ball. Kid looks like a baller. I haven't heard much as far as whether he's going to miss this game or not. So we're having high hopes that he's going to be able to take the field. Defensively, as far as injuries go, that's about it. Like you said, if the Fairley loss, it happened early in the summer, so the team had time to adjust. Having said that, and I know we'll circle back to the Saints defensively, they're getting 0 interior pressure from their rushers, and that's been a big problem. And I heard you guys talking about the pressure that the Bills especially put on Cam Newton this past week. So the spotlight is really going to be on the Saints defensive line to be able to do something against that Carolina offensive line. But back to injuries, the offensive tackle position for the Saints is a real problem. Teron Armstead, Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, injured his labrum. I think it was in OTAs. It was early in summer. Now he hasn't been IR'd, and he could possibly return very soon after the bye week, but you're missing your Pro Bowl caliber left tackle. Now they drafted Ryan Ramczyk with their second first-round pick. Ramczyk has played halfway decent against even the Minnesota defensive line. Expect some lumps from a rookie left tackle. Then to make matters worse,
well, let me ask you about him. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me ask you about him. I was really high on Ramczyk during the drafting process. I actually had, he top 10 type of talent. I mean, but I saw him really as a right tackle. Do you think the plan really was for him to probably play on the right, or at least sit and marinate for a year, and the time just came a little too quickly so far for him? Would that be fair?
No, I think that's exactly what their plan was. Because Armstead, he's been injury prone the last couple of years, but he's still a young guy. He's still Pro Bowl caliber left tackle. I think they drafted Ram to put him on the right side because Zach Street, heck of a warrior over the years, but the end of his career is real close. Right. So I think that they planned on if they could squeeze another good year out of Streif, let Ramczyk sit behind him, marinate a little bit, kind of season, plug him in, and get some playing experience. They throw him in there real quick. But now, as if a rookie left tackle trying to soak everything in isn't stressful enough. Now they had to they flopped him over to the right side last week against New England, and I think it's where he's going to play against you guys because Zach Streif went down with a knee injury, and he could be missing until possibly even mid-season. So
who came into the left?
What they did, they moved Andrus Peat, who had finally found a home at left guard. Andrus Peat was a former number 1 draft choice in 2015.
Out of Stanford, he's a good player.
Hadn't worked out right tackle, which is why they originally drafted him. Now he finally found a home at left guard. When Armstead missed some time last year, they slid Pete into that left tackle position. And he was serviceable. So that's they slid him over against New England, and then they plugged in Senio Clemente at the left guard position. Clemente, he's a versatile interior lineman. He could be a center, play either guard position pretty effectively. So on paper, that's probably the most effective offensive line combination they have right now. But again, you're moving one of your arguably your best guard now outside to tackle, and you're moving your rookie offensive tackle onto either side of the line before he really has a chance to get solidified. Right. Against the front line like Carolina, that's asking for a lot of trouble.
All right, we got 2 questions in the chat room I got to get to.
I have one too.
All right, one is this: what about Vaccaro? Are you guys going to trade him?
You know what? I think they are. I'll tell you why.
Like a 7th in 2012, 20.
I want to know the price. What's he asking?
I'm just kidding.
There's a track record there, unfortunately. Yeah. I'll tell you why I think that they're going to trade him, because they say that they're not interested in trading him. When you bench a guy, as bad as that secondary has played, when you bench your number 1 draft choice from 3 or 4 years ago, your most arguably or technically your most athletic guy at safety, supposedly a team leader, according to what they were saying last year, you bench him, and then he comes out publicly and says, well, I don't understand why I was benched. Really, guy? Well, maybe you should go watch the film. And maybe listen to your coaches a little bit. He didn't sound like.
Where's the problem, Bob? Where's the problem with Vaccaro?
Vaccaro was never strong in coverage. In my opinion, he's a downright liability. Vaccaro's game is best served putting him up near the line of scrimmage, letting him hit people. He is a heck of an athlete, but he gets lost in coverage. Now, there's no shame in getting schooled by someone like Rob Gronkowski. Greg Olsen has took Vaccaro to town a couple of times in games against you guys. But Vaccaro even has trouble covering the mid-tier, tight ends and running backs. And they keep trying to put him into more of a traditional safety role. And it's not working out. That's not his game. They drafted 2 guys in the 2nd round each of the last 2 years, Marcus Williams and Von Bell. I know Bell has had some coverage struggles too. Mm-hmm. Williams is more of a classic center fielder. So they were trying that kind of combination against the Patriots, and you can't really say it worked because nothing worked. But again, the fact that they benched Vaccaro just days after leaking out rumors that he was going to be traded, and then this smells a lot like the Brandon Cooks from last year. No, we're not going to trade him. He's a team leader, et cetera, et cetera. Only now, in my personal opinion, I don't think they'll wait till the end of the season, because Kenny's in a contract year too. Remember that. The mindset might be right now, if we can get something for him rather than lose him for nothing, let's strike while the iron is hot. I don't think it's any coincidence that they drafted safeties so high each of the last 2 years.
This is the best comment in the YouTube chat. Vaccaro's career will die in Dallas. I think that is so awesome. All right, Joe, get your question in, because then we got to ask him.
It was about Vaccaro. That was it.
Cody Lackney, 2 things. One is this: what are you guys thinking about AJ? Don't call me Luke Kuechly Klein. And then really the question we want to get after, what are your thoughts on the GM? One of our YouTube regulars, Cody Lackney, argues with his brother, he said, and the guy is, what is it, Loomis?
Yeah. Yeah.
He says his brother believes that he has a lifelong contract in New Orleans, and he wants some fodder for his brotherly arguments. So Klein first. You can knock out Klein real quick. How's he doing?
AJ had a real good game against Minnesota, especially early on. I loved when they signed him. He was a heck of a player to watch. I'm not sure how you guys felt about him, or more importantly, how you guys felt about losing him. In my opinion, Klein adds a lot of athleticism to a Saints linebacking core that's really been lacking up until the last couple of years. I think he's good. I think he's going to bring this unit together. I know they've had their struggles, big time struggles in the first 2 weeks. I still like the combination of Klein, Anzalone, and Craig Robertson in coverage. And I think Klein could be a real team leader on this defense. So yeah, I'm excited. It's really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays against his old team this week. Because remember, I mean, he went up against those guys in practice for 3 years, was it? So I mean, he's kind of familiar with Cam, kind of very familiar with the Carolina offense.
He's been around. He's good. He's a good player. I think he's a good middle linebacker against the run. I think you like your idea of him being a leader in a defense. I agree with that. When you ask him, when they start matching guys up against him in the middle and start running routes against them, getting sideline to sideline, is a little tough for him, you know. And I mean, because he's a big dude, and you know, I mean, he's got his strength, and I think his strength is playing and reacting to the run game, calling out offenses and some things like that. I think when you start getting him into cover, you know, he's not as great in pass coverage.
No, I completely agree. That's where New England had dead to rights last week, because all through, especially the middle part of that game, second and third quarters, I don't know how many plays you were seeing Klein, you know, trail in coverage at least 4 or 5 times off the top of my head. So you're absolutely right. It's coming forward, diagnosing plays and making plays in the running game.
So here's some good players around them too. You know, I mean, that's the thing. You
can't do it all on your own. Yeah. My question for you is let me ask this, Tony. If the Saints were to win, how do they beat the Panthers? What's the strength? Now everybody knows Drew Brees, and you know he's first ballot Hall of Famer, et cetera, et cetera. But if this team's going to get off the snide and beat the Panthers, how are they going to do it?
A couple very simple, very basic things. What you saw Buffalo do, and let's not pretend that the Saints defense is anything nearly as talented as what Buffalo did, but they got heavy pressure on Cam last week, and they got it by bringing delayed blitzes a couple different times. Buffalo's outside rushers hung up those tackles, and then delayed blitzes or stunts came from the inside. New Orleans has to. Sheldon Rankins is a first-round draft choice at defensive tackle. He's got to start playing like it, get some push on that interior, leaving Cam Jordan and a couple of those linebackers in one-on-one pass rush situations on the outside. You do that, nothing personal, but outside of Christian McCaffrey, none of Cam's targets are really scary. Breaking potential. So that could possibly force Cam into maybe forcing the ball downfield. He does have a tendency to sometimes throw the ball high if he's under pressure. So that's where the safeties that we talked about came into play. New Orleans needs to get minimum of 2 turnovers, not in 2 turnovers where they're able to convert them into points. They don't have a single turnover on the year yet, not in either of the 2 games. And offensively, these guys need to get back to do it. Forget about Adrian Peterson. He's a non-factor.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Man, he looks, and this is a guy that I thought that Adrian Peterson was one of those dudes that doesn't age.
And he was he was Tony's steal of the fantasy football draft.
I know. I was like, and then now looking back at me. And Mel says I fall in love with people's names, and this is a case of that. He's not a good fit for the New Orleans Saints, it doesn't seem. And then on top of that, like, you guys can't give him the ball when you're down 30 points.
No.
It's the game today, And when he did get the ball, he did not look fat. He looked bad. He didn't look good.
No,
He
he
looked
doesn't have
old.
any pop left in his legs.
He looked old. Yep, that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he doesn't have any pop left in his legs. This running game needs to get back and go through Mark Ingram. Give Alvin Kamara more snaps. You want to give Peterson into a goal line situations. Okay, the guy still probably has some power left for maybe 5 to 7 carries a game in goal line or short yardage situations. Outside of that, Adrian Peterson should not be a factor in this offense. The Saints offense needs to get back to doing what Sean Payton and Drew Brees are most comfortable doing, spreading the ball out, quick rhythm, fast break offense. Put some pressure on. The Panthers have probably the best or one of the best front sevens in the game. So you got to make them breathe heavy, and you got to test those young defensive backs, make them earn their paychecks. Michael Thomas, we were coming into the season as Saints fans and people covering the team, saying that this guy was a step away from being considered among the elite receivers. He's got to step up his game, especially without Willie Snead. Ted Ginn Jr. has got to make one play. Give me one play.
And hopefully that's a fumble.
Oh, gosh. It'll be one drop. It'll be one big drop right in the end zone or something. I saw this. Slim J, I think, said this, is that Alvin Kamara is the best running back on this team. He really fits well. So let's go to that Loomis question there. You got Kamara, who is great. And you guys actually had your best draft, I thought, this year that I've seen the Saints have in a long time. Is Loomis with the great draft and all of this, and then you bring in AP, this disaster, and then you always hear of you guys signing all of these huge contracts. I always hear these names get brought in, and then they're always terrible. And then somehow you guys always do it again next year. Tell me what you think of Loomis. Is he good? Is he bad? Where are you at on this?
The time for Mickey Loomis has come and gone. I think when they built the team that they did, beginning with Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton, bringing him in, and of course Drew Brees in 2006, they did a heck of a job rebuilding a franchise that was in shambles. They built it up. They had their playoff run in 2006, obviously their Super Bowl in 2009, and legitimate Super Bowl contenders until arguably 2013, definitely through the 2011 season. Since then, they got stale. They got careless. And by careless, I mean they fell in love with the big names, like you guys were talking about. They saw Seattle do what they did when they made their run through the NFC. And they tried to copy the Legion of Boom kind of secondary by big name signings instead of drafting and developing like the Seahawks did. Big name signings like Jarris Berg, Champ Bailey, who never even made it out of preseason, things like that. So that's what I mean when they got careless, fell in love with names. And maybe Mickey Loomis, and some people are saying this about Sean Payton too. I'm not of that belief with Payton, but I am starting to think this with Mickey Loomis. They got too comfortable in their jobs. The owner, Tom Benson, he's getting up there in years, and he has always been loyal to a fault to the people in his organization, and especially those guys at the time when they all came in. When you consider what this franchise was and what they were rebuilding from, the fact that these guys stuck with them and rebuilt through them, Mr. Benson probably feels a sense of loyalty towards Loomis, but at some point, you got to say, and either yourself or the people around you have got to say, you know what, enough is enough. This is a track record now of since 2013, really, of personnel moves that had blown up in your face, handcuffed your franchise financially, which obviously affects personnel movements going forward. And when that kind of thing happens, the players on the field have to be responsible for the product that they put out out there, but who puts those players on the field in the first place? The general manager. It's time that Mickey Loomis be held accountable. In my personal opinion, they need to move on from him.
I think you'll like this, and I can't believe I just turned this on Twitter right now, and this is for you, Cody. Panthers fan in Africa. By the way, she tweets out of South Africa, and she's like a statistics guru.
Mm-hmm.
She said this. She said she had a hunch, so she tracked this down. Since 2014 through week 2 of 2017, New Orleans has not won any of 13 games in which they have been held to less than 20 points. Now
that isn't surprising whatsoever. That's not surprising.
Right. She said you're tied with Philly and Cleveland for a 0% win record in games where your offense is held under 20 points. I think that goes back to what you were saying. 3 complete overhauls of this defense. That's a complete referendum on the defense. Is that if you guys can't put up more than, I'm surprised the number isn't 25, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
All right.
One more question. I'm gonna make it quick. From what do you think the future of Drew Brees is?
That's the million, no pun intended. That's the $1 million question. Coming into the season, I have believed for years that Peyton and Brees, they were linked at the hip. Sean Payton, despite all the rumors about, Sean Payton is going to Indianapolis, Sean Payton is going to Miami, this rumor and that rumor. I never believed Payton was going anywhere as long as Brees was there. And I never believed that Brees was going anywhere if Payton was there. I still believe that Drew Brees will finish his career in New Orleans. He's literally a Saints icon. We just talked about, the meaning and the loyalty behind those 2006 guys. Drew and his family, they have entrenched themselves in the New Orleans community. And he knows he's not dumb. He knows he's only realistically have a few years left.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if they do end up blowing this thing up and starting completely from scratch, you cannot start from scratch with a 38, 39-year-old quarterback. And that's where I'm concerned a little. I don't think Drew wants to go anywhere. I think if the organization makes a decision that we're going to blow this whole thing up and start from the ground floor, that's when things are going to get interesting.
We thought that was the case when you guys drafted a quarterback in the second round. We thought the writing was on the wall, and that guy don't even on the team anymore, probably.
Nah, yeah, we were just kidding about that.
Yeah. All right, guys. By the way, you can find that data at PanthersFan_AFR. Tag is Panthers fan in Africa. All right, Bob, we're gonna get you out of here tonight. You tell them how they can follow your work. I know you're at Canal Street Chronicles. We love chronicling things together, but tell them where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else you post that.
Guys, like you said, I'm a writer for the Canal Street Chronicles, and they can be found on Facebook. Also on Twitter, the Twitter handle is @SaintsCSC. My own personal work can also be followed on Twitter and Facebook. My Twitter handle is @BobbyR2613. And guys, I'm honored that you had me on tonight. I heard a lot about you. Watched some of your show. Obviously, your little sister under the dome. They talk very highly of you. So, I'm honored and privileged that y'all have me on tonight. I appreciate it.
Man, it was a blast.
Privilege. We really appreciate it, bro.
Hey, we do appreciate you coming on, and we wish you nothing but the worst this weekend. All right,
right back at you.
All right, man.
We will definitely get you back on as we get back into the second match. Thanks a lot. That's Bob Rose. You can find him at Canal Street Chronicles. All right, we got to power through. We got still picks to do in the division. In fact, is that where we're at, guys? I think. You know what is actually not. I say this is we go ahead and we get into these cat calls.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what everybody is waiting for.
Do it.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like
and a 4 and a. Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Yes, my name is Amanda Patterson, and this is my son Claire. And this is my son Chris, who is 2 years old, here with me. We've seen on Facebook where you're able to call and leave a fan message for the Carolina Panthers at any time. So we're just leaving a message. We want to say, Cam, I mean, you did just come back from shoulder surgery. You got to get that little bit of rust off you, but you're doing great. You're doing perfect. I mean, we all going to have our downtimes and our downfall. So keep pounding. Keep doing what you do, Panthers. We're going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. We're going to claim that ring. And what do you say to Cam? Say, dab on him, Cam. Tell him, say, dab on him. Dab on him.
I like it. I like it. Awesome.
Great call right there.
C3 Nation, what's up? It's Mario in the Quay. 12 o'clock Sunday. Out here tailgating in front of Bank of America. About to walk in for the game. Let's go, let's go. Let's go. Keep pounding, son. Bills Mafia, your grass. All right. Check in with you later. Peace. Hey, what's up, C3 Nation? It's Mario in the Quay again, giving you a halftime update here from Bank of America Stadium. Essentially, there's two stories of the game up to this point. One is the sun, because it is freaking hot, guys. Anyone else here in C3 Nation knows that. The second is the defense. The defense is playing lights out. I believe at this point, I don't have the stats in front of me, that Buffalo has only scored one first down or gained one first down. No score. 6-0 is the score at the half. The offense looking well in moments, and in other moments looking like the offensive line of yesteryear. We got to protect Cam better. Cam's got to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, so it's a combination of both. And if we can get Christian McCaffrey involved in some of these passing plays, I think that he could really open up some of the offense there. Anyways, I'm trailing off. I'm gonna go, but I'll check in with you again at the end of the game. All right, C3, keep pounding. Peace.
What up, C3 podcast? It's your boy Jared. I'm not even going to talk about the defense because 3 points a game. Come on now. So let's leave that behind. The offense. The only thing I gotta say is Shield's got to go. He's got to go. You have the most weapons that we've ever had in Carolina history, and you can't make it work. You can't figure out a way to make it work. You don't know how to make it work. You're obvious. Some of the plays called are actually pathetic. Like, I'm sitting in the middle of Iowa in front of my friends. They're watching because their game wasn't as good. And I'm calling out plays and then they happen. That's not good. Because if I can call them, then I don't know nothing but my team. You know, they know. Like, it's just, it's unacceptable. 4 red zone trips in a row. We get 3 field goals and a punt. Yeah, we had a punt after a red zone trip. Mike Show's got to go. Our next one. Mike Show's got to go. I'm sick of being nice and being a Panther fan and just letting him roll and coast. And yeah, we're still the Panthers. We're Panther Nation. We got it. No, Shula's got to go, and he's got to go now. I as good as our defense is playing, why throw away this season? You got to be kidding me. The defense is winning it without scoring points. Like, I'm just gonna let you guys go. And we should let Sheila go. Peace out.
I'm sensing a recurring theme there.
Keep pounding.
Right on.
Hey, this is Mario in the Quay again, C3 Nation. Making the trilogy call here. Walking out of Bank of America Stadium after the victory over the Bills. And basically, that's the only thing I can say about it is that we won. That's got to be one of the ugliest win I've ever seen in person. and it's got to be one of the ugliest of all time. But hey, we won, and this is the National Football League, and a win is a win. But the things have to change on the offensive side, and I don't know if it starts with Shula or if it starts with the O-line or Cam or what. But there's no reason, especially in the last drive, that they had the ball, they shouldn't have scored a touchdown. But thank goodness we've got one of the top defenses in the league, and we were able to have them bail us out and help us to lock in the victory. All right, guys. Look forward to seeing everyone Tuesday. Take care. Peace.
All right, that's the C3 Cat Calls line. You can reach that at 252-228-5098. We will relay those messages to the Carolina Panthers too. So thank you, everybody who called in. Fantastic.
Blowing up, man. Love it.
Yeah. Remember, 252-228-5098. Call and leave a message anytime. Talk junk about the week coming up. Celebrate the Panthers win. I love these kind of waiting as we get bigger and bigger. I can't wait to have more fan reports from the game. I think that's a cool thing, is to continue to embrace the fan experience. One of the things going back to, and what Mario has a special relationship with the podcast, because Mario was away out of the country for 2 years in the Peace Corps, and the C3 podcast was his one consistent source to Panthers news on and off when he had inconsistent internet. He downloaded the podcast for 2 years, and it was the one thing that came each week, kept them tuned in. And so Mario has supported us in that, but we've seen this come about. J-Dubs in Iowa, Jay Cryer, who's called in, is in England. And these are away. One of the things is that, look, none of us, Mel's the only one in Charlotte, and he just got back there this past year, in the last couple of months. So, like, one of the best things about the C3 podcast is I think we're trying to bring each of us kind of a little taste of Panther football for people that are outside of Charlotte. And, I mean, obviously, we want people in Charlotte to listen to it, but I'm going there this weekend. We're going to have more sights and sounds from the game. Joey's going to be there. So we want to continue to meet people. We want to continue to hear from you. And look, your insight in the YouTube chat on these chat lines is far better than mine. So you continue to keep pounding and bringing those calls, and we will celebrate them. All right, guys, let's jump into the predictions for this week. NFC South picks, Panthers versus Saints. You got me. I'm going ahead and putting it down. We're moving to 3-0. I do think it will be close. I would be careful. I have not looked at the line yet. This is not going to be an easy game for the Carolina Panthers. I think that the Saints are kind of like a wounded animal in the corner. They're going to be playing tough. You've got Drew Brees as a quarterback. You've got some weapons on offense. The defense is going to have to play great, but the offense is going to have to put some things together. We're going to have to put together a complete game, but I'm calling the Panthers to win. I think it'll only be by 3 points. I'm thinking like 24-21 though.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say I think it could get scary, with Drew Brees, because he can light it up like a Christmas tree. And the one thing about the Panthers defense is, if we're not getting the pressure, we don't play very tight man coverage, and Drew Brees has always exploited that. However, when you go to the game, they do those little camera games when they say hold up 1, 2, or 3 to give your answer. One of the questions was, what team has the Panthers beaten more than any other team in history? 1 was San Francisco 49ers. 2 was Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 3 was the New Orleans Saints. Almost everybody said Tampa Bay Bucks, but the answer was the New Orleans Saints. The Panthers have beaten them more than anybody else, and I think it continues.
All right, I'm going to be the outlier here. I say the Panthers will win, but I think it's a rout. I think the Panthers put up 40 points. I think the Panthers wake up offensively. Shula comes with a game plan that takes advantage of this piss-poor Saints defense, and I think the Panthers win 41-17.
Wow. And we will be party in if that is the case.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're at home. We're at home. The Saints are reeling. And, you know, the Panthers know, hey, we've won, but we look like crap. How are we supposed to contend for a championship if we can't put up more than, you know,
they need to get it together. Yeah, they need to put it together. Yeah.
So I think the Panthers turn it around. This is their game. They turn it around and they light up the Saints.
Sweet. All right. So what are you thinking about in the Tampa Bay Minnesota game, Professor?
Tampa Bay, Minnesota. Obviously, I think this all comes down to, and this is crazy to ever say this, is if Sam Bradford plays. He sucks. I'm sorry. Guy's trash. I mean, he looked great against the Saints. I don't think he's that good. And how do you guys? I think that the Minnesota Vikings just straight up said that we were going to lose to Pittsburgh anyway. So you might as well let him rest his sore knee. Where's the game at?
I'll have to double check. I think it's in Minnesota, but I'll have to double check. If anybody in the YouTube chat room knows, shoot that out to us real quick.
I am going to go. I'm going to say this is that Minnesota. I'm going Minnesota.
It is in Minnesota. It's in Minnesota
at home because is that, I mean, obviously this is going to rest a lot on Bradford playing. I think that Tampa Bay made a fool out of a bad Bears team, and they should have. I think that maybe they're going to be riding a little too high this week. And look, the problem is running up. Minnesota's defense ain't no joke. Ain't no joke. And I underestimated them against the Saints. I have not watched that Tampa Bay game yet. I got to go back and watch it.
Yeah,
I'm going Minnesota.
I hear you. What about you, Joe?
If Bradford's playing, I like the Vikings.
But you got to be on the record here, man. We got a tally going for the season. Which one you taking?
Right. Does anyone know if he is playing?
I don't.
Or is it still up in the air?
I'll tell you. I
don't see why it wouldn't be there.
I'll tell you after your pick.
He's going to be hurt. So just for the sake, even if he does play, he's still going to be hurt. I think I'm going to go Bucks, man. I like what they have, what they're doing, and I'm going to say the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Joe on this one. You know, I do agree that their defense is legit, and I tell you, I love Dalvin Cook. I think he could have been a good pick at even as high at number 8. He's a special player. But, the Bucs are a hot team, man. The Bears are a weak team, but they took the Falcons to the limit. They should have beaten the Falcons. They dropped the pass just like Zay Jones did. So we're not the only ones catching breaks like that. But Tampa Bay was all over them, and they're hot, man. I'm going with the Bucs in this one.
The YouTube chat is basically all in accordance with you guys. I'm the odd man out with Minnesota. So you guys got the Bucks. I'm keeping tally here too as well. Last game is Atlanta. Who they playing, Mel?
Oh gosh, it slips my mind at the moment.
They're playing
who do they have? Is it Detroit?
No.
No, let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, I think it is the Lions. Yeah, I think it's the Lions.
Yeah, it is the Lions. It's in Detroit.
Where's it at? Tell me where it's at.
It's in Detroit.
In Detroit. Gosh. All right, you guys go first. I've gone first on every pick.
Well, I personally am going with the upset in taking Detroit. It's a little bit of homerism in me, but I got to say, Stafford looked pretty good.
Good, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Stafford looked pretty good. Plus, the Falcons have lost Beasley for at least probably 4 weeks. So if you're not going to get that massive pressure on Stafford, he's going to pick you apart. The Falcons looked really bad in the first week and really good in the second week. I'm going with the Lions to take this one.
Short week for the Lions too, though, coming off Monday Night Football. Joe, what you got?
Oh man, it's in a dome. Atlanta's really fast in a dome, but the Lions' defensive line has been pretty tough so far this season. Oh, I think I'm gonna have to take the Dirty Birds in a close one, in a real squeaker. The kicker's got a leg, and he's gonna be kicking indoors. So yeah, I'm gonna go Falcons in a nail biter.
Dirty Birds, and I'm gonna go Lions because I think, and the reason I'm going Lions is because I wussed out on them against the Giants this week. I'm back.
I love the professor picking against all the NFC South teams except the Panthers. I love it.
I
love it.
You know what? You're right. So I think this is the way it looks. Week 1, Mel went 3-1. Joe went 3-1. I went 2-1, I believe. I lost the New Orleans pick where I picked against the Vikings. Last week, Joe and I went 4-0.
Wait a minute. How did we go 3-1 and you go 2-1?
Yeah.
2-1. There was only
the Bucks didn't play. The Bucks didn't play.
So we went 3-0. Okay, gotcha.
3-0. Sorry. 3-0. You guys are a game ahead. Mel, you went Green Bay last week, right?
I did.
All right. So you went 3-1 last week. So we're even on the year. Joe's ahead a game.
Okay.
Joe has the opportunity to pull ahead this week.
Oh, all right.
All right. All right. That's it. We got one last thing. Ice up picks, and let's get the heck out of here. We are rolling deep.
I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. I'm going to go ahead and nail them right now to the wall. I expect to see a much better performance out of him this week, and it'll be interesting. I really am wanting to see how he rebounds. My ice up pick this week goes to Carolina Panthers right tackle, Daryl Williams. Daryl, you really showed your backside against the Bills. They used you and abused you and made you look like a turnstile. So you got some making up to do. You got to prove to your fellow linemen that it was a fluke. And I have faith in you. I think you can do it. And in the meantime, ice up for this past Sunday's performance.
There you go. Well, hey, Professor, I'm going to keep it on the offensive line. So thanks, Joe. Thanks for setting that up. But I tell you, and the offensive line with 6 sacks really deserved it because that was really the weakness in our game this past week, man.
Yeah, man.
But I tell you, for a leader on the team, a multi-Pro Bowler, all-pro leader of this team, to just not be able to play and all we get is because he's got a crick in his neck. I don't get it. And I really think that started the downfall of the protection calls. Now, Larson showed to be a good center in the preseason, but, I'm thinking he probably made the human error of not being as prepared as he should have been. And he, coming out of warm-ups, his mind wasn't even in making all these protection calls. He finds out last second. You always got to be prepared, but man, find out last second this guy is not playing. You got to go run in. I think Sean McDermott jumped on that, saw there was a last-minute change, and he just really picked at the. He made the blitzes more complicated, knowing the communication was going to be lacking. I tell you, Ryan Khalil, I'm really disappointed in you, man. That is, I need to know. You can't miss a big game. You're getting paid probably $500,000 for that game, and you got a crick in your neck. Wait, go ice that neck up, and while you do it, just ice up in general. Ice up, son. Jeez.
Give that guy a Klonopin or a muscle relaxer.
Rub some dirt on it, man. Get in the game.
And an ice bag. That's funny. Ice up. The YouTube chat room all together in one roar iced up Mike Shula. My ice up pick is going to go. This may be the first time ever. I'm icing up Cam Newton.
Oh. Hell has frozen over, people.
I know, man. You missed that dang McCaffrey pass, and there won't nothing. Why? I mean, I don't care. That ain't no rust. You just missed it, and I know
Right.
you just blew it. You just blew that play. And look, that doesn't mean that means nothing other than I love Cam Newton. I always talk about this. I'm a teacher. I teach a bunch of kids. I always talk about how Cam's a big, beautiful black man with them cute little Shrek ears. And I always talk about I said, this man got a cute little Shrek ears, and I'd be laughing in class and stuff. But so love Cam Newton, love what he does for the team. I think the offense is going to be fine, guys. I actually do. I don't think we got to worry. I think things are going to get better. I think we're going to figure things out. I do think everybody's got to get better. Offensive line, Shula's got to get better, and Cam Newton's got to play better. What we need is Cam Newton. You're great for our team. You're a great quarterback. Sky's the limit. You hit that pass right there. This game's a wrap. Right then. So Christian McCaffrey gets his first NFL touchdown. Everybody's happy. All of a sudden, this goes from the offense is just bankrupt to wasn't our best offensive game, but we got it done. So to you, Cam Newton, nice up.
All right. I like how you said that quick. You didn't even like to savor that one, did you? Yeah, ice up, man. Ice up.
All right. That's the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Got the latest stories at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We love your input. We love all the action in the YouTube chat. If I missed a lot of comments, it was a lot to follow tonight, a lot going on. We appreciate every bit of it. My computer's coming back next week, guys. It's like in the shop getting fixed from like a hurricane explosion and power, whatever. But it is under warranty coming back. When that comes back, we're going to go back to having the show live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. And the next edition is the YouTube chat has really become such a feature of this show that we're going to have to get it up on the screen so we can preserve it.
Yeah.
So we can preserve this because YouTube chat goes away and it's a wonderful conversation. I know I missed so many of your comments. I will get to them as much as we can. We'll get you next week if we missed you. Joe, tell them how they can follow you real quick.
C3 Family. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. I like the activity in the YouTube chat, guys. You guys are awesome.
Mel, how can they get after you?
Anytime at Panthers Drafter. Also got a new draft tech mock draft coming out this coming week. I want to say thanks. I had some trying times with the family this past week and a lot of good well wishes coming from the C3 family. Really do appreciate that. I think that's fantastic. Now, hey, at the C3 gang is going to be at the game this weekend. The boys are coming to stay at my house, and we're going out. We're going to the game. So if you're going to be at the game, hit us up. We'd love to meet you. Get some selfies, put it up on the website.
Look us up, guys, please.
Check out Shaqed's recap of the game. He's excited about that. It's
that was awesome. Absolutely. He did a good job.
On his Twitter and other shows all around the world how Panther Nation does it. Support the show. Subscribe, follow, share, whatever you can do to help us. If it's just telling a friend, leaving a comment, or even leaving $1 through our Patreon account. Just a little bit goes a long way, folks. And remember, always keep pounding. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Later, guys.